Hi all, welcome to the channel, welcome to our worlds, the world away. We're now doing stage 8 of Hero Collector Eagle Moss's build, the Ecto-1. Gonna need these for this issue. Now this is a really fiddly issue. We're doing pretty much the right engine block, and we're also going to be doing a hell of a lot of the electrical systems. So we've got the fuel pump, we've got the coil, and we've got spark plugs. So we are going to need tweezers as well for this. Now the good thing about this one is they actually provide us with a set of tweezers. Look at those. But I am going to use my own ones because I use these all the time and I'm pretty proficient in using them. Let's show you what we've got to do. So as you can see in this, look at all the tiny pieces. Now what I've done, once again, I've kept them all in the pack here. That way I know what's missing and what isn't missing. As you can see, there's nothing missing. It is worth saying that the ignition coil and the distributor attachments there are very similar. That's why it's best to keep them in the pack that they're doing there, but that looks just like that. We've got all the list of inventory there, which I do advise you take note of, because you don't want to get halfway through this bit of build and realize it's missing. And as you can see, we've also got 5 different types of screws here, and these are all here. So going to stage 8, as you can see, we're going to be putting the manifold on the engine, the manifold that we had left from the last issue, looking just like that. And then we're going to be attaching this to the whole engine that we've got at the moment. We're going to start fitting the fuel pump and filter, then we're going to do all the electrical system. This section here, where we're putting the parts on for the distributor and the spark plugs, are going to be a little bit tricky, I'm guessing. And then finally we're going to fit the starter motor. So the engine is going to look pretty much almost complete until we start adding all the other HT leads and stuff, which is going to be another fiddly job I do. But without further ado, let's get cracking. Now I think this is definitely one of those pink moments, so I am going to turn my cutting mat around because I'm conscious that this is going to be a little bit of a fiddly one to do. So we've got a fresh base there to work from. So we're going to take the right cylinder head, looking just like that, and the manifold that we had last time, and then holding it this way round, the manifold is going to be going in this way, so the downpipe there is pointing down. Now we need to put that in place. Now once again, we did this on the left one. We've got to put some screws in there. The screws we're going to be putting in are AP screws. Now once again, I don't have to break into my collection of backlog screws, because they provide more than enough. What I do when I actually empty these, I don't know if you can see it, you can't really see this on camera, is I do empty the whole pack. It makes things a bit easier when I'm putting them in. But I do keep them in certain areas around the workstation, so I don't get them confused. Because when you're doing these videos, it's a one-hit thing. In other words, basically, once I started, I can't really finish without doing an enormous amount of editing, which I don't really want to do. So here's the second one. And last but not least, we'll put the third one in. Just over here. There we go, that's fully screwed in, looking just like that. Now just like last time again, we're going to need the cylinder head cover, looking just like that. This bit is plastic. And then we also need the ignition wires sort of tidy that's going to go in here. And just like last time, this section here is just going to fit in the little, trying to get a better vision, little notch there. But what's actually going to hold it on is putting the cylinder head on it. Now the actual writing goes towards the manifold, so it's going to be that way around there. So I'm just going to slide that in and try and do 2 things at once, just to keep that in place. You can tell what way around it goes as well, because you have got a little notch just there in that cylinder head cover there. I suppose this has got different names. Cylinder head cover, rocker head cover, valve cover. Now, we've got 4 holes here. We're going to be putting these in with BP screws. So I'll get this loaded up. We'll get these put in. Here's the first one. Now, today is Wednesday. I'm going to try and get a Ghostbusters video out every day this week, which means Saturday and Sunday I should have a Terminator and a Spitfire going out. The reason I'm delaying it, I just thought it would be a really good run-up for the event that's happening on Saturday at Orbital Comics in London, just off Leicester Square, where I'm actually going to see a finished version of the Ecto-1, and I get to ask them all the questions that you have on the build. So if you've got any questions that you definitely think I should be asking them, put it in the comments and I will endeavour to get that on tape to show you, because I am going to be doing some video footage while I'm down there, and I'm also hopefully going to be meeting some of you. But there we go, that's where we're up to on this stage so far. Now we take the engine block over from the last issue, looking just like this, and this is just going to attach just to the top here, just like that, and it's going to be secured in with these two holes here and here with DM screws. This time I think I'll open the screws up on the other side there so I don't get them confused, and we just put them slowly just into these holes here. That's one in. I haven't tightened it all the way. I just put it in enough so that I can get these lined up, and then I'll tighten them up completely. Here's the second one. And then let's tighten this up. And that's in nice and tight. Now normally when we have tight screws to put in like that, people ask what screwdriver I'm using. This is just a Wera PHO screwdriver. It is available on my Amazon store at bit.ly/World of Wayne, but all of that is in the video description, so you can see that. But that section's complete. I think it just needs a little bit more tightening. I've got a little bit of a rocking in there. I want to get that out before we actually start attaching this together. And there you go, no rocking anymore. Looking just like that. Now what we need to do now is bring over the engine block that we were working on last time. We're going to take the middle section that we worked on last time as well and just hold that into place like that. And now we're in a process, or being able to put this side of the engine block in as well. It's going to mirror the one that we just had on there. So I'm just going to slot that in just like that. And that's slotted in absolutely perfectly. Just show you on that side camera there as well. Looks really good, doesn't it? And then we've got two holes here and here that we're going to be inserting some DM screws in to hold this all in one place. So here's the first one. Going in nice and tight. Now we'll just go into this far side here. Tighten it up. And there we go. That's the engine completely together, ready for all details to add onto it. So we can put that to one side, and we're going to have the pump and the filter first. Now they normally keep all of these in one place. So we've got this section here, which is the bottom of the pump, and then we've got the fuel pump bracket looking just like that there. Now the way this goes, the fuel pump bracket, as you can see, has got two holes on that section there. We've got the same just on that. It's going to slide in just like that, so it's going to go sideways on it. It's going to be held in with an AP screw. So I'll get this lined up again, load up an AP screw, and we'll get that screwed in. This does look like a big screw for this, but it is going in really well, so nothing to worry about. And there we go, that's that section done. Now we actually take the fuel filter, which looks like that, and the fuel filter cap, which looks like that. It's got a notch on that side, but as you can see, this can only go in one way because once again we have got a little keyhole pattern in there. So I'm just going to line that up and put that in the way it goes, and it should fit perfectly flush in there without being able to move with your finger. We don't actually screw this down yet because we need the bracket that we had before. It's going to go on kind of like that. It's going to be pretty hard to show you because I've got to put a screw through here, and the screw is an FP screw. Now we only need one of these for the build, but they provided two. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to screw it in and then show you the finished result, and I think that'll probably be a better way to display this. Let's get that in there. We'll screw that together just a little bit. Then I want to line this little notch up like that and then completely screw that tight. So when that's complete, it's going to look just like that and that from underneath. Might be beneficial to look at the picture to match that design looking just like that. Now we're going to bring the engine block back over here. We're going to be attaching the fuel pump to where it goes on here. It's pretty easy to see how this goes. As you see, you've got a keyhole pattern there. You've got the same on that lug there. So you're just going to line it up this way, just like this. And then that will sit perfectly in there, ready for a cap to go on. Then we're going to be putting the pump cover just over the top, following the same contours as you can see the lugs on the side, with the two lugs on this side. Just going to line that up just like that. You see it on the top camera there. And then we're going to secure this all together with a BP screw all the way down the top there. So get that lined up and then start the skew going. And as I tied it up, I'm just checking that it's not moving too much. Looks like it's in absolutely perfectly actually. It's completely lined up. And it's nice and tight. There we go. Looking just like that. Once again, I can put that to one side because we're going to start working on the ignition coil now. The ignition coil comes in its own pack here. So it's best to work on one section at a time because these are really tiny pieces here. So what we're going to do is we're going to put the coil cap, which looks just like this tiny thing here, in one end. You should push in and it shouldn't take or need any glue. It doesn't. It just clips in just like that. Then on the other end here, we're going to be putting an ignition coil plug, which is this piece here. The shorter end is the one that's going to go in the end here. Just like that. So when that's pushed in, it's going to look like that. We don't need this piece. This is for the starter motor later on, so I can put that to the other side. We do need to bring over the engine again, and this is going to go into these two holes that you can see on top there with the ignition coil plug pointing towards the distributor there. So that's going to sit on just like that. Now we have got a lug on this, so it only takes one screw, so we make sure the lug is lined up just like that. Once again, we need a BP screw, which I've got here. Put that in to hold that in place, and then we'll tighten the whole thing up just like that, and that's the ignition coil in place on the top. Now we need to open the spark plugs up. Now I know a lot of people have painted these, but theoretically, tell me if I'm wrong here, surely the spark plugs would be covered by the HT leads. As you can see, you've got a short end and a thin end. The short end is going to go into the holes that you see each side here, for each side. So this is just a case of pushing them in. At the moment, I haven't needed my tweezers or my goggles. I call them goggles, my magnifying glasses. I think this might be the bit that you might need some really good tweezers to actually push these in. Because I think, rather than tweezers, it's probably best to get yourself a tiny little set of pliers. These are in my saw as well, with flat end on them. So you can grab hold of it. It gives you a bit more force to actually push them in, just like that. So you're not bending them, you're not breaking them. Let's put this one in as well. Just like that. And they go in so solidly there, they're not going to move. So I think I've just made easy work on that. I'm going to do the other four the other side exactly the same way. Put them in my mini pliers here. Just push them down. And they do give a click when they come in, so they don't need to be glued or anything. You can just push them in like this. Another two. I thought this bit was going to be the bit that was going to be really hard. But as you can see, I'm making really short work of this. And here's the other one. I mean, you can paint the spark plugs if you want, I guess. I'm not going to, but there we go. That's them in both sides there. Now I'm looking at all the parts that I've got here, because we're going to be pushing it in the vacuum advanced unit into the distributor. And as you can see here on the bottom, this is what it looks like. We've got a rectangular spot, and if we turn the distributor around, you can see the same lug there that this is going to go on. I'm just seeing if it's got a way. It's pretty symmetrical, so I don't suppose it matters what way around this goes. I can always change it around afterwards, but I'll push this on. Just like that. And that's on there. Now we've got another dipstick to put in. That's going to go just into the hole next to that vacuum advanced unit we saw. It's going to be pointing away from the distributor, so when that's in, the dipstick's going to look just like that. And then in this pack here, we've got 9 distributor cap plugs to put in. So we'll open these up and we'll get these pushed in. Now I think once again, I'm going to do it exactly the same way I did the spark plugs. I'm going to use my trusty pliers here. That'll give me, hopefully, enough room to push these in. Now the way this goes in is the longer end is obviously the end that we want pointing out, because eventually we're going to have pipes on these. As a matter of fact, I just saw that go in then. I think this is something I can probably do by hand, so yeah, you can. So that's the second one there. And you want to place them like the hands of a clock so that they are uniform. And once they're in, you can turn them afterwards, so it's not going to be a problem. But you want to push them in enough that you're not going to lose them and they're not going to fall out. Here's the next one. Bear it in mind we've got one to go in the centre as well. I think my priority is to actually get them in. I might need my pliers here actually, and then position them where they need to go. And then the centre one, what's the point? Kind of like making right angles with the coil we've got on top there, because we are going to have a pipe to join them. And I'm going to turn them around just to make them look a bit more tidy than they actually are at the moment. That don't look too bad. And there we go. That's those all in like that. And then probably this is the only time that I have used my tweezers. We're going to put one end into the ignition coil plug there, and then the other end here just into the center plug of the distributor cap there. And as you can see, I am using my tweezers for that. And there we go, that's that plug in. That is a long wire. I suppose you could cut that down. I'm going to keep it the way it is at the moment, but that's looking just like that. Put that to one side again, because we're going to be working on the starter motor now. We've got 3 pieces for this. We've got the main body, which are these 2 sections here. Then we've got the solenoid for the starter motor, which is going to go on top. Okay, the next thing to do is we're going to take the starter motor housing here. We're going to attach that to the bell housing that we just got here. It's going to sit in quite easily because it's got lugs on this side here. So we can just line that up where it goes. Kind of like that. And then we've got a hole to put a screw in. Don't know if you can see this just there. It's going to be a BM screw. So I'm going to put that in there. And that's going to make it really tight to the bell housing there. That's in place. It will wiggle around because we've got another screw to put in. We're going to put the rest of the starter motor together here, which is this section here. It's going to go through this, out the other side, and it's going to be secured in place on this side here, just there, with an AP screw. Obviously holding the cap at the end there and just putting it through the blue hole in the bell housing there. Make sure that's nice and tight, because this is going to keep the starter motor nice and secure to the engine body, just like that. Then the last thing we've got to do, just put in this tiny little solenoid here, which is going to go into the top section of the starter motor, just here. We've got a lug just at the bottom, which is going to go into the hole that you can see just underneath the screw hole there. So that ensures it's kept the right way round. It's a little bit fiddly, but that's going to be held in with a BP screw. So I'll get it in nice and tight, so that isn't going to go anywhere. And that's the solenoid in for the starter motor. And then guess what? That's that issue complete. Now, either I made short work of that, or that wasn't too bad at all. It does feel quite secure now as well. We've got no wiggly around bits apart from the anchor mounts here, or the engine mounts here and here. But yeah, pretty happy how that's gone. So there we go, that's another stage completed. Let's see where tomorrow we're going to be doing the carburetor and the air filter. Not a lot to do on this, but someone has advised me there's no point in putting the air filter cover on when we've got to put the HT leads in. And if we put the air filter cover on, we're going to have a nightmare getting those HT leads. So I think at the end of the next stage, we'll attach it, but we won't screw it down until we've got those HT leads in. But I hope you have as much success as I had on that one. I was really worried about that when I saw all the little pieces, I have to say. If you did like that video, please remember to give me a thumbs up. And if you haven't subscribed already, please remember to subscribe. And if you haven't checked out my Patreon yet, we've got supporters that you'll see in the next flashcard here. Check it out. You'll see everything that's going on behind the scenes, even my trip to London this coming Saturday. But other than that, take care.